Hello, dear friends. Today's problem is not lack of news, but its access to make a summary. After a weekend of informative fasting, I have had to postpone a lot of information to avoid making the article too long. Opinion piece. Moving. Patience is a virtue. Message to the impatient. The transition began in 2012. We are on the verge of the unthinkable. End of the old cycle and beginning of the new. Let's start. Many people are impatient and think that 500,000 years of oppression can be remedied in a few years. This is not the case, and any logically thinking person understands why. It is disappointing that the informative explanations receive negative reviews because it is evident that the content has not been understood, according to Peter B. Mayer. But to me, it seems like the sluggish moving servers. The decision for the final breakthrough is made out of this world by the Father Mother God. The dark side must destroy itself first, as soon as the monetary system collapses. In a nutshell, the transition began in 2012. The total duration of the transition is about 4 decades. Around 2050, the transition will be complete, but the three most intense years would be 2024, 25, and 26, so that by the 27th, the balance would be tilted towards the positive side. Many well-known internet magicians have shorter-term predictions, which have been proven wrong time and time again, but unfortunately remain a credible source for many. They talk about that will happen tomorrow. This will not be the case until the fiat money system collapses. The public implementation of the QFS monetary system will undoubtedly be the first change to take place after the collapse. Collapse. Peter B. Mayer believes that the entire economic system has been collapsing since 2008. The banks created an illusion to make everyone believe that the economy had recovered, but as many now know and see, that was not the case. The central banks themselves are preparing to bring down the economy, but first they need someone to blame. However, they have started announcing that it could happen as soon as this year. The Ottoman Turks, the Habsburgs of Austria, the Bourbons of France, and the Vatican created a trust banking system that still exists today. In medieval Europe, control of the system was handed over the Pope and a group of affiliated monarchs. The government is the problem, not the solution, but they didn't think about awakening the people. Phrase taken from a secret protocol of the Council on Foreign Relations of 1950, in quotes. We will have a world government, whether people like it or not. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or consent. Close quotes. Conscience and unity are the immediate obstacle to these plans. Now they want to take away everything of value from us and lock the population in camps, in the name of ecology and improving the weather. That's why our galactic family helps us. Reset News. Charlie Ward thinks RV won't happen until Biden is gone. According to Charlie Ward in quotes, all the people at the top are bound by strict confidentiality agreements or gag order. People who leak information should not do so because they are not coming from higher sources. For those people who are waiting for their money to arrive next week, it will not arrive. All these dates and times that exist are garbage. The first thing that would have to happen would be the impeachment of Biden and the collapse of the old financial system. Stop asking when and start manifesting what you want. Advises Ranra. Steve Biko believes that anyone who feels the call to be a missionary of light should receive help to develop their project of service to society. According to Max Sira, the QFS took over all bank accounts in primary banking as of last Friday. Until now, it had only been on the secondary banking for more than 2 years. Morgan Stanley believes that we are on the brink of the unthinkable, in quotes. According to Brandon Straka, the movement is bigger than you can imagine, and the majority is no longer silent. Science. Bill Gates begin to backtrack on climate alarmism. Rothschild's Lynn Rochester thinks companies should soften their 2030 agenda, or 2030. The X22 report believes that the plan for the Davos Great Reset and Green New Deal is falling apart, and people are realizing the narrative is broken. The report adds that countries are revoking climate mandates. Defeat of the World Cup in the UN, according to Channel Awakening Channel, with the opposition of 11 countries: Bolivia, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, Syria, Russia, Belarus, Eritrea, Korea, Iran, and Zimbabwe. Russia and Turkey support opposite sides in the Caucasus conflict. Turkey is an ally of Azerbaijan, which technically has ownership of the Nagorno-Karabakh region, but Russia is an ally of Armenia, whose people dominate and control the region. The Panama Channel crisis causes catastrophic damage to the economy. It is one of the busiest canals in the world, with more than 40,000 ships every year. 6% of world trade depends on Panama, and 40% of the goods used in the US. BRICS countries got rid of $123 billion in treasury bonds in 2023. Markets. Food price inflation remains high, and the populations of Venezuela, Lebanon, Argentina, Turkey, and Zimbabwe are greatly affected, according to the World Bank. Tanzania has started banking gold to bolster its foreign exchange reserve. More and more countries are starting to do this. The price of silver plummets to around $23 and doesn't rise any further. Additionally, countries are increasingly reluctant to share their silver supply outside their border. Gold and silver have a market transition underway through Basel III. We're still waiting for this to be completed. Deadlines have been extended. According to the IMF, the use of local currencies in trade will intensify the move to a digital economy backed by gold and other commodities. This is why central banks have been buying so much gold for decades. That is why the global financial reset is unavoidable. This new financial system will allow for a level of play in commerce, and local opportunities will flourish as a result. Here is the era of creativity. China. China brings together leaders in the smart vehicle industry. Evergrande has not met the requirements to issue new promissory notes under its debt restructuring plan. China's economic influence replaces the US in the Middle East. USA. The Fed stopped raising rates but continues to speak aggressively. The Federal Reserve reduces its staff for the first time since 2010. JP Morgan Chase closes 14 First Republic branches in California. India gets green light to join JP Morgan Bond Index. India will receive billions of foreign investments. Fox News discussed loan mortgage and credit card debt forgiveness over the weekend. 45% of student loan borrowers expect to be delinquent when payments resume next month. By BIS warning: the current accumulation of leveraged short positions in Treasury futures is a financial vulnerability because liquidity problems are beginning to appear. The U.S. Senate Committee of Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs held a hearing titled Artificial Intelligence in Financial Services. Goldilocks talks about the possible shutdown of the U.S. government. If Congress does not provide funds for the fiscal year that begins October 1st, government services would be interrupted and hundreds of thousands of federal employees would be laid off without pay. Employees considered essential would remain at work, but without their pay. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced that Meta has begun rolling out its first metaverse game to mobile and web. The only app available now is the Super Rumble, a free-for-all shooting game. Europe. The European chip law will boost Europe's technological sovereignty, competitiveness, and resilience, and contribute to the digital transition. The Storm Rider claims that reports of corruption in Poland are going to emerge. Remember that public arrests begin at the center of the empire. Hungary points out that the rejection of Russian fuels is contrary to the interest of Europe, in his opinion. Zelensky has asked Marina Abramovic to be Ukraine's ambassador. Russia has banned the export of all gasoline and diesel due to chronic shortages and rapidly rising prices. Brexit was a failure according to Peter Foster. Controversy grows after revealing a high level of glyphosate in European waters and soils. Chef Pete Evans believes that food is medicine and eating the right kind of food will help you break down the unhealthy products that are forced on us. Robert Spencer talks about how the lack of Christianity is making things worse. Americas. El Salvador became the Ibero-American country with the greatest growth in influx of foreign tourists in the first 6 months of 2023. The president of Peru will appear before the prosecutor's office for deaths in protests. Brazil registers a previous inflation of 0.35% in September. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.